Cut to the chase, evidence-based. Pull up a chair, let's get this straight. Peptide buddy, he's your peptide buddy.
Hey everybody, last video took a break from the usual purely data-driven content, but today we're back with a cut-to-the-chase and evidence-based analysis of GHK-Cu, also known as CopperPeptide. And before spoiling too much, I do find this one very fascinating, and due to the presence in cosmetic products, I suspect others do too. I wish I would have covered this one before doing the half-joke of a peptide tier list, but I'm curious where you would rank this one because I'm really enjoying going through it here. First, let's take a look at what people are saying so we can ascertain why they use the peptide in the first place. And as it appears, some use it as a means of skin anti-aging and wound healing, others for pain reduction and purported anti-inflammatory effects, while some consider it a nootropic. We've clearly got a lot to go through. I will add that there is a fantastic literature review analyzing the peptide's multifarious proposed uses, and I'll make sure to link it in the description below along with all the other sources that I've consulted to make this video. So this one has gained a lot of interest within this space and in the world of cosmetics, so I think it's worth a comprehensive review. If you agree, make sure to subscribe to the channel. As always, I appreciate you and all your support, which in turn is helping the channel grow and guiding a lot of my content, which doesn't go unnoticed, and I certainly appreciate you all. So the peptide was popularized after research published by Dr. Lauren Pickard, a biochemist who dedicated much of his life to CopperPeptide and its rejuvenating actions. And it was his PhD thesis on this tripeptide from human serum, and you can see his earliest research about the peptide coming from the early 1970s. Let's start off by reviewing the peptide structure itself. GHK is a tripeptide consisting of 3 amino acids. The tripeptide itself shows a strong affinity for copper and binds it, forming the GHK-Cu or GHK-copper complex. It was initially isolated from human albumin by Pickard, who noticed it enhanced formation of products involved in regeneration of the liver. And although the peptide was initially thought to operate predominantly through regulating copper metabolism, as more researchers and institutions got involved in his analysis, general opinion about what it's working on, the public perception if you will, has changed. Now, the primary idea behind why it does what it does is thought to be surrounding modulation of gene expression, as it's been found to either stimulate or suppress expression of many different genes. But although initially isolated during albumin studies, it was additionally found in the plasma, urine, and saliva, and was found to decline with age, supporting the idea that its age-related decrease coincides with the body's impairment in the ability to heal itself. And so Pickard pretty much ran with the research to evaluate its proposed regenerative and anti-inflammatory properties. And in research models, it did seem to impact different components of skin-related healing, modulating activity of metalloproteinases and their inhibitors, stimulate breakdown and synthesis of collagen and glycosaminoglycans, and was shown to improve the health and ability to replicate fibroblasts that were exposed to anti-cancer radiation therapy, and served as a chemotaxin to recruit cells to the site of injury. It was more clinically evaluated, if you will, in different animal models, including rats, mice, rabbits, pigs, and even dogs. Some of the pertinent findings revolve around ability to influence wound healing. It showed to not only influence healing more systemically, but also in diabetic and ischemic wounds in rats, showed to reduce the presence of pro-inflammatory cytokines and stimulate collagen synthesis, which therein would enhance recovery. In dogs, it assisted in recovery of pad injuries or injury to the paw, and similar to proposed actions of BPC-157, CopperPeptide is shown to enhance other components of recovery like increased formation of vasculature to support healing, as well as serving as anti-inflammatory and an antioxidant. Now, something that really fascinated me is its proposed involvement in gene expression, and in particular, it was looked at with regards to COPD. So multiple universities across the world got together in this collaborative project and evaluated the gene expression signature of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, a condition characterized by inflammation, respiratory compromise, and lung destruction that plagues many people. And in evaluating this so-called genetic signature, researchers could assess what processes were upregulated and downregulated in patients with this condition, and understandably, markers of inflammation were increased while those indicative of recovery were lessened. And through use of a technology called a connectivity map developed by the Broad Institute, researchers isolated that GHK-Cu could serve to reverse changes in gene expression associated with emphysematous destruction, particularly moderated by the TGF-beta pathway. And when pulmonary fibroblasts from patients with COPD were cultured and administered the peptide, it restored fibroblastic function. And in mice with lung injury, it increased antioxidant activity and decreased cytokine-mediated inflammation. And to clarify, the mechanism by which this peptide is involved in gene regulation isn't well understood, but as researchers hope and anticipate, further research will seek to determine that. So these different projects that involve or include this connectivity map that really seek to analyze different gene expressions and possible compounds that could either suppress or increase their presence, that is what's going to drive a lot of the future research on this peptide. Now let's get into the neurogenic data, which is relevant because if we're thinking skin damage, there is oftentimes risk and presence of deficits in sensation, for instance, as a result. And as this review puts well, so GHK has a significant effect on neurons, but we don't know exactly what this means. However, it does, in models, appear to augment the process of nerve outgrowth, which is a part of healing. And researchers sought to evaluate cancer risk when asking themselves the questions we always ask ourselves when discussing similarly reparative peptides like BPC-157, right? If we're enhancing tissue repair and remodeling, especially via formation of new blood vessels, are we augmenting cancer risk? Most of their thoughts are that it is possibly anti-cancer in nature from some findings with the aforementioned connectivity map. Some additional relevant findings include growth inhibition of certain human neuroblastoma cells and reactivation of the apoptosis pathway, which is oftentimes dysregulated in cancer. I know we've talked about this before, but apoptosis is a regular, normal, mostly healthy process by which cells go through programmed death. But oftentimes in cancers, this is dysregulated or inhibited, so cells just keep proliferating and reproducing. And although the research in this regard isn't the strongest at this point, some of the hype the researchers attribute to the peptide is a proposed ability to regenerate and modulate cells and their function to become healthy rather than cause their dysregulated production. And I think the fact that quite a bit of this is based in gene profiling technology, it's still fascinating, likely not unreliable, but definitely something I hope to be investigated further in the future. Or at least, like I said, I hope so. I mean, who knows, they can do what they want. But as is eloquently stated in the literature review, oftentimes cited in this overview itself, it has an ability to reverse gene expression back to health. And that's really what they're pushing here. Now, the peptide was also evaluated in the context of pain and was found in mice after using a hot plate to induce discomfort that mice administered the peptide took a longer time to lick their paws, hinting at an anti-nociceptive or pain-relieving effect. And it also seemed to impact fear response and anxiety in rodents in a couple different studies. Okay, so by this point we've taken a look at CopperPeptide in the context of skin healing, via modulation of different physiologic processes involved in such, pain and fear response, lung health, and even gene expression. So now is an appropriate time, since it's obviously included in cosmetic products, to go through its safety and clinical use in humans. So when we talk about wound healing, it truly is intricate and involves a lot of different stages and biochemical factors to not only draw or recruit cells to the site, but to also activate the processes of structural repair. And as we hinted at before, although GHK is in the literature hyped up as a genome resetter that could more adequately regulate this process, its amino acid sequence is present in proteins in the extracellular matrix, which is a home to many components of the healing process itself. And thus far, the peptide is shown to increase skin density and thickness, reduce depth of wrinkles, and improve skin clarity. This finding has been replicated in some other evaluations that seem to do the same things, yield general improvement of skin appearance, thickness, density, and with positive impact on wrinkles. Now, the compound isn't regulated by the FDA, and as such, found its way onto their list of concern that garnered public outcry the fall of 2023. The concerns, which echo pretty much all of the others, is worry about immunogenicity and safety given lack of data indicating in humans risks and possible adverse effects over longer periods of time. However, the ban on compounding appears to strictly pertain to injectable administration, which is understandable. And I've shared countless times to an extent these bans smack away any companies doing research, they really persuade the opposite. However, like with all of these, or most of these peptides, these peptide pharmacies slash compounding sites have minimal if any consequences if they were to fudge their data or include inactive or harmful ingredients or additives. However, because this is so prominently utilized in cosmetic products like creams, given its skin permeability, that's not off limits. But the FDA is certainly against the injectable version. And I will say there is little info out there indicating its safety, but it appears to be well tolerated. The study seemed to predominantly be conducted over a 12-week span, and we worry about stimulating angiogenesis, increasing predisposition to cancer. But given this mechanism, much of which is unknown, that includes clearly a component of regulation of gene expression, it's tough to draw long-term concerns at this point if I'm just being candid here. However, in terms of use in topicals, it does appear safe. It has for some time now been included in a variety of creams. You just type in GHK-Cu cream on the internet, you'll find a whole bunch of options. Not that I would know which is the best. I am not the best with cosmetics, and there's a reason why I don't show my face. And just to wrap things up, this is a fascinating one, and I tried to fit the most pertinent and relevant data in this video, but we could do a whole series on it, so if you want that, let me know. These are the types of things that made me a peptide research hobbyist in the first place. When you go into the data expecting one thing and you come out realizing there's a whole world of other components to investigate further. I thought this was purely a cream that helped wrinkles, that's it. But upon further review, it seems to quite possibly intertwine with a myriad of different genes and their own intricate processes. Pretty cool. So thank you so much for watching. Any questions, concerns, hatred, feel free to just leave it in the comments. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. Link to the Patreon will be in the description below if you're looking for a way to further support the channel. As always, thank you for your time. Take care.
Cut to the chase, evidence-based. Pull up a chair, let's get this straight. Peptide buddy, he's your peptide buddy.